Welcome back to the Doctors J&J podcast. We're here again talking about two crowns. And last episode, we talked about the importance of your own personal crown. Mm-hmm. And now we're kind of bringing it full circle to talk about the importance of bringing those two healthy, powerful crowns together to really understand what it means to live two crowns.
To be a power couple.
To be a true power couple.
Yeah. So one of the things that we talked about last session was about self-regulating. That's huge as far as being a powerful person. On being a powerful couple, the concept of co-regulating, which is getting a lot of buzz, and I love it. If anybody sees some of this, you can put it in on your social media or TikTok. You'll see a lot of exercises that promote co-regulation. And one of them is very easy, but holding each other, spooning together, connecting, dancing, shared activities, eye contact is huge, soul gazing, right?
Yeah, try that sometime with your partner is holding eye contact for a full minute.
Yeah.
Like that is challenging.
And it's also very stimulating. But co-regulation, the concept on this, what happens is that both your bodies start to calm down and they really start to bond and they start to come into each other. And it is the opposite of dysregulation. So sometimes it's good to be able to talk about what's dysregulating. And this can be really different for every person. We do find some things that are unique to each gender that can be really dysregulating. For instance, a woman, if she doesn't feel loved, is really dysregulating. If she doesn't feel listened to, that's probably the most dysregulating thing you can do for a woman, is you don't listen to her, because for a woman, her voice is her power. So when a woman isn't heard, she immediately starts to get dysregulated. And if we think about history, we think a lot of times too, one of the first things that we do, or what has happened with women, is we have silenced them. And obviously we'll see through our history how long it took for women to vote just in our own nation. Mm-hmm. So silencing women, and you can do this in a variety of ways. You can silence a woman by ignoring her. You can silence her by invalidating her. A lot of times that's called death by 1,000 paper cuts. Or you can also invalidate a woman by saying that she's not reasonable. That's actually a very popular way to get a woman to be silenced, and to invalidate her is just say she's not that smart, she's not very reasonable, she's just all feeling, she's too sensitive, she's like a roller coaster, it's very hard to connect with her. So these are things that we'll find that we will do intentionally or unintentionally to completely invalidate our partner. And in doing that, it really dysregulates. So if there's no kind of regulation or co-regulation that happens when there's been a dysregulation by your partner, what ends up happening is the dysregulation starts to define the culture of the relationship. When this happens, you have a relationship that is now bonding in conflict and not bonding in love.
Yeah, which is super stressful and definitely raises the anxiety in a relationship. And, one of the things that really causes couples to struggle with co-regulation, I see, is their inability to self-regulate, which is what we talked about last episode, is if you can't bring your own self-regulation to the table with the co-regulation, it makes it that much harder. Obviously, the whole concept of co-regulation means that we need another person to regulate.
Yeah. And I'm going to take point with you on that one, because the whole concept of co-regulation is helping each other,
right? Helping
each other to soothe. So you're not going to come to the table totally regulated. I mean, it's true. Nice in theory, but bottom line is we need each other. We need each other, and they're to say that we don't need one another, right? To be able to calm down isn't fair. Otherwise we'd be out of a job.
It's true.
Right? People need one another.
What I meant was that if you don't know yourself well, and know what helps to regulate you, whether it be the breathing or the holding,
True.
Right? If you're like, I don't want to be touched when I'm struggling. It's like, okay, well then holding is not your thing, but you have to know yourself well enough to know what would be regulating to you with your partner. And one of the things that I've had a lot of couples try, and they think it's awkward at first, but they'll put their foreheads together. And so they're resting their foreheads on each other and they're matching each other's breathing, which is a very odd thing that you're not normally doing, but it can be very, grounding and regulating to just have that touching point and then to try to match each other's breathing in that.
Right.
Because obviously breathing is a huge regulator.
For sure. And to have that mirroring and that matching.
Right.
Something for men a lot of times that can be really dysregulating is disrespect. A lot of times if they're spoken to, and we hear this all the time, is a certain tone. If the woman is speaking in a certain tone or speaking really harshly, a lot of times the man finds himself really reacting to this because this is really scary, dysregulating. He feels under attack. He also feels like he's getting accused of something from somebody who is very precious to him, and typically somebody that he is used to protecting or I would say take a bullet for. So when that specific woman comes at him and says, "You're doing this to me," well, he probably is doing that. The problem is a lot of times the man becomes incredibly defensive. And then what happens? He becomes defensive. He doesn't listen to the woman. He starts accusing her or being critical in a way to protect himself. And then now we've got a dysregulated woman who's not getting heard and a dysregulated man who's not getting respected and being cared for in a tender way for the message. So now we've got a dysregulated couple. Now this is disastrous and also very, very normal.
And job security for us.
It's job security, but it's super normal. The more connected you are, the more you work together, live together, the more you're going to experience this. It's also super, super normal. So we just want to normalize this. People can have days, sometimes weeks, sometimes years of this. This is what we call the dark forest. And so to think that, oh my gosh, we should only have this for a couple minutes. No, there is times that couples can be really on it and really good about regulating themselves and co-regulating together and reaching for the partner when they're frustrated or sad and holding them. But more often than not, we're turning away from each other when we get frustrated. A lot of times especially again, I'm stereotyping, but a lot of times the man really struggles with the sadness of the woman and his energy goes into silencing or fixing.
It's because she's leaking and guys are supposed to fix leaks. And when they can't fix the leaking from her eyes,
they feel scary.
They panic.
Yeah. The other thing I've heard too, and you can probably speak to this better, but I heard that it's connected quite a bit to men's shame. Like they feel ashamed, like
they're failing.
Yes, they're failing. Yeah.
Yeah. If my wife is sad or crying, that means that I haven't protected her or I haven't taken care of her or I'm doing something wrong. And so, that, creates panic in men because happy wife equals happy life for most men. And so they're like, she's not happy. Therefore, what did I do wrong?
Right. So now your whole energy goes into protecting yourself versus communicating and soothing and co-regulating. So the rule of thumb, and here's in a perfect world, and we rarely see this happen well. So again, do not beat yourselves up on this. But when your partner is distressed, the other person is reaching for them for comfort, for care, right? So when your partner is distressed, you are doing something to regulate them.
Yeah.
But typically what's happening is when your partner is getting distressed, you're getting distressed.
Right.
Now we've got two people that are getting distressed.
We're good at this.
And just dysregulated, and nobody is helping to regulate the other person.
Right. Yeah. Dysregulation fosters dysregulation.
Yeah.
And somebody has to be the bigger, stronger, wiser person, which is not always easy.
No, it's not.
And sometimes you have to take turns.
You do. And I remember we were having a conversation just a couple days ago, and we were in the car coming back, and I was like, oh, I'm feeling really frustrated about this particular situation or what's happening. And I really am struggling. And your first response, I remember, was, oh, just don't be frustrated about it. Just move on. Just, and I'm like, I said, please, can you give space for this emotion? I will move on. I'll figure this out. But could you just give some space for this emotion? And I remember you had to kind of take a minute, kind of had to walk outside the car and do something else, probably fix something that you could fix. And then you came back in and you just took my hand. And immediately I felt seen. I felt accepted. I felt held. I felt emotionally safe to expand a little bit more what I'm feeling before I got to my need, to say, here's what I need.
Well, and I remembered hearing your emotion and joining you and saying, I'm with you in that emotion. And even though I was pushing you to get out of it and be like, hey, don't let it ruin your day.
Right. Worst thing you can say to a woman, by
right. Yeah.
If that was the case, our jobs would
be unemotional.
So much easier. Don't let it ruin your day. Just be happy.
Just stop it.
Just stop it.
But
yeah.
That kind of goes back to what we've talked about in the past about the value of emotions. If we think emotions are ruining the day, then we're going to avoid them at all costs. But if we say, hey, when they come, I always talk about this analogy of the river. I think this would be good to share.
Okay.
We live right by the raging Columbia River, which comes down from Canada all the way into the ocean. And I always give this analogy of difficult emotion coming down the river. Most of us tend to have this idea of wanting to dam that up. Like, I don't want that emotion to flow over me. Mm-hmm. And so if I dam it up, I don't have to feel that emotion. The problem with that is now we're playing in the mud because the water's not there.
Yeah.
And we've created this whole flood situation behind the dam. And then eventually the dam breaks and all of that dam emotion comes flowing down, and then it becomes overwhelming. But if we embrace this idea and we wade out into the river, let that emotion flow over us, guess where it is now? It's down the river. And we can just experience it in that moment and not try to block it, but we forget that it is flowing. Like sometimes we think, oh, the emotion's going to hang around. It's not a lake. Emotion a lot of times is a river that just rushes over you and then it's down and ends up in the ocean.
Yeah,
there's a lot of emotion in the ocean, I can guess.
Emotion in the ocean. That sounds good.
Hey,
sounds like
emotion ocean.
Yeah, emotion ocean.
Wow.
Yeah, that's good.
Anyways,
I heard that from you before. That's excellent to be able to just let that come through and come out.
Right.
So if you can,
and it's more fun to play in the river then.
Let your partner speak and feel the emotion. Then that gets to wash out.
Right.
And then you can say, okay, what do you need? Or what are we going to do about this? If we can move into the we language, now we've got an us, right? Now we've got an us happening. Right. And this is very co-regulated, especially for women who really want a sense of togetherness.
Right.
If a woman doesn't feel like she has this sense of togetherness, like there's this sense of us, this can be very dysregulating. And then a woman does what we call turn away from the relationship. She starts to become very independent. She starts to assert herself more. She starts to take care of her own personal needs. She stops reaching for her partner. And this affects everything, men, especially the intimacy life, right?
Affects the bedroom for sure.
Affects the bedroom. So when a woman feels regulated, then she wants to be able to love and to reach for a man. When a man feels regulated, he also wants to love and reach and feel like the hero in the relationship.
For sure.
When we're dysregulated, the worst thing that we can do is create more dysregulation. If your partner's crying, don't yell at him or her. Hold your partner. Do some eye contact, grab their
Right.
hand, say something reassuring if they don't like touch. So
Right.
that's the number one rule when there's dysregulation is create some kind of co-regulation, which again is super hard to do.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a couple of things that we can do that are co-regulating that are really easy.
Good.
Jake mentioned the breathing. You can also do mirroring, where you do mirroring together. This is kind of funny. We don't do a lot of this because it feels so awkward and weird. But it is also something, I think
It takes a lot of concentration.
it does take a lot of concentration. It's something that you can actually, when you do it, you can actually feel the heat and the energy coming off of your partner. But that's one technique too, is mirroring. Obviously the soul gazing, which is the eye contact. Wow, that starts to get creepy. Knock off the creepiness. There's also laughter, which is really good. Passionate conversations are good and they can get really heated, but it means you're sharing your heart. Getting some strategies, getting that sense of us is really important. Along those lines too, just real quick on dysregulation, unfair fighting can be really dysregulating, threatening the relationship, coming at your partner,
For
doing
sure.
ultimatums, right? Covert abuse, all that kind of stuff can be really dysregulating. Dancing with your partner,
Ooh, I like that one.
showering. You do, like, you're a good dancer. Yeah, we really enjoyed doing that too. We kind of got in a habit of doing a dance a lot of times before we go to bed.
We did like 30 in a row.
40.
40?
Yeah, but who's counting?
Oh. Yeah, we did 40 dances in a row.
40 dances,
Every
40
day.
nights of dances. And that may or may not have been because we were in that cycle of a lot of just kind of conflict and criticism and kind of coming at each other. And it's like, we've got to get back to the real us. Who are we? We're about loving each other. We're about equity, two crowns,
Right.
Some
Some of
having
that
our
was very
power.
disciplined.
Yes,
Dancing.
for sure. I remember.
You will dance with me.
No, we made a commitment to do it for 40 days. But the funny thing is, I remember a couple times we're literally fighting and arguing while we're dancing. I'm like, going, it is so hard to be mad at your partner when you're dancing
It
to a
is.
beautiful 80s song or something.
Yeah.
So, yes,
Or sometimes we'd be in conflict and I would just put one of our favorite 80s songs on and she couldn't resist.
this is true. He started swaggering out to do the dance with me. So yeah, those are some really great things. Another thing is rocking together. Obviously, spooning is really huge. There's some great studies on this. Holding, 15 minutes a day of holding.
Non-sexual touches.
Non-sexual touches. Showering together. Did I mention that?
You
Bathing.
did,
Okay,
yeah.
good. So those are. There's some couples I work with. They shower every day together. I think that is so cute. But they regulate. They hold each other. So when you can make a commitment to co-regulate each day, even if you're mad at each other, you're struggling with each other, that starts to
Yeah.
become a foundational structure for your relationship where you start to bond in love more than you are on conflict or dysregulation. You really want to keep the co-regulation going. Sometimes it's harder than others. We find it's really hard on when you're coming out of a trip, or you're coming home from a trip, or you're leaving to go on a trip. Those are called entrance and exit conflicts.
Yeah.
So those are times when you can be really dysregulated. And it's great to be able to be really intentional about having regulation
Yeah.
and co-regulation.
Can be hard. Yeah.
Or Monday
One of my
mornings.
other favorite ones is hammocking.
Hammocking's fun.
We've
Yeah.
we've had a stretch where we would hammock in the backyard often, which is really fun
Yeah,
because hammocks kind of force you to.
snuggle
be
into
together.
each other. It's very true.
Another thing about two crowns and becoming a power couple is learning the skill of having shared goals, shared activities. And sometimes I hear a lot of couples where they drift apart in their play together,
Yeah.
and they just lose that shared activity. And I'll ask them, like, what did you used to do together? Because obviously most marriages are not arranged marriages, or they didn't lose a bet.
Yeah.
But, they'll tell me like, oh, we used to go to concerts, we used to do this, we used to do that, but they don't do any of those things anymore. And so they lose that. And obviously we grow up like, oh, we used to go bar hopping and stuff. And it's like, well, we don't do that anymore. So it almost like they lost, or they used to do karaoke or something like that. So finding new activities and exploring that is super important. But also just setting goals together.
Yeah.
One of the things we talk about in our book, and it's my most corniest joke in the book, that making a strategy or setting goals daily, weekly, monthly, yearly spells dweemy, which is super cheesy. But if you want a dweemy relationship, you have to set an intentional plan daily, weekly, monthly, yearly.
Yeah.
And having a sharedness in that, and being together on those goals, and say, hey, daily we're going to, greet each other when we come home, or we're going to hold each other, or we're going to pray together, or we're going to do things like that. Weekly, we're going to go on a date. Monthly, we're going to have like an evaluation of our relationship, or kind of a staff meeting. Obviously, one of the things I tell couples all the time is one yearly holiday, I'll call it, or event that you don't have to share with anyone else is your anniversary.
Yeah.
And what better way to honor your relationship but to honor that anniversary of your marriage or when you got together.
That's good.
And so many times couples don't do that. I'm like, what'd you do for your anniversary? Like, oh, we kind of forgot about it and we did go to dinner, but they're not celebrating it. And I say, man, every year that we not only stick it out with each other, but we are working to thrive is worth celebrating.
Sure. True.
And, we always encourage, the milestones, the 5s, the 10s, the 15s, do something even more special, go on a big trip. And my favorite was our 30th to Tahiti with the huts over the water, which was a dream of ours.
It's totally a dream of ours. But we also did.
True.
I think that was the culminating trip.
That was the culminating trip of.
We also made a commitment to do a trip each month. For the whole year of our 30 year.
Yeah.
So we just
we
kept
did 12 trips.
Yeah, we'd go.
Not all
camping
big
or
as
do something
Tahiti.
fun. But yeah, Tahiti was our crown jewel, if you will, for the 30-year mark.
It was. It was.
Yeah. Anything else on that?
No, just
share goals and activities.
Yeah, come together and be creative. Pickleball, it's a new craze. Could do it together.
Yep.
It's kind of the sport for the masses.
Start a podcast.
Start a podcast together. That could potentially end your marriage. Because it can be stressful, but
it sure can be. It gives you material, though.
Challenging. Yeah,
we always have material.
We're always going to have material.
Yeah, finding activities, shared activities, doing those together, I think would be important for you to be able just to keep that co-regulating and connecting happening. That can be really challenged in a heterosexual marriage. We hear that quite a bit, where maybe the husband loves golf and the wife hates it, but being able to find activities that you both enjoy and doing that together.
Right.
Finally, the last point on this, when it comes to conversation, if you can stay out of arguments, that is so huge for making sure that the relationship stays powerful and moving forward in a positive direction. When you start to argue instead of dialogue, this is when we find that the relationship starts to really deteriorate. So then the conflict and the argument starts to define, again, the culture of the relationship. And there's lack of emotional safety. You can't say, hey, I really need you to take out the trash. It becomes, well, I always take out the trash. You need to take out the trash. How come I have to keep right? So it becomes this argument instead of saying, you know what, I'd really like to take turns on taking out the trash or something, right? Instead of a negotiation, instead of being able to receive the person and making sure that they feel heard for what they need and what they feel. This is hard to do, especially when you both feel strongly about something.
What do you think brings the two crown element into those dialogues?
What do you think brings the two crown element into those dialogues?
Well, I think you might have a better answer than me, but I think obviously coming with your feelings and needs.
Right. Being powerful.
Staying out of the you language and using the I language.
And us, we.
Right.
Yeah.
And having a positive sentiment override, kind of assuming the best, that comes from John Gottman, that idea of you can have a negative sentiment override or a positive sentiment override. But when you come, and I talk to couples about this all the time in terms of, if you start a conversation out that is potentially a conflict and you say, hey, I know that you love me, that you would never want to hurt me or disrespect me. And I know that's your heart. And I'm sure what happened was not intentional, but this is what happened that hurt me. Yeah. It is so hard if you start a conversation that way.
It's true.
To be angry and defensive.
This is true. Those are called, again, John Gottman, soft startups.
Soft startups.
Yeah.
Where you're like, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give you a positive sentiment override and say, I know you love me. You're for me. You're my fan. But this happened, and why do we hurt the ones we love? Yeah. Because they're the ones we love. And if a perfect stranger did or said that exact same thing, it wouldn't matter. Right. But the reason it does, it's because the weight that we hold with each other is huge. Right.
And I think too, is what we have to remember is that marriages, a lot of times we're acting out some of our child core wounds.
True.
We're constantly, or our intimate relationships from days gone by, from our family of origin. So a lot of times we are fighting a parent we never got heard with. We are trying to be seen by a parent that we felt invisible by, or was too hurried or busied, or a parent that maybe was too enmeshed, right? So a lot of times we have to make sure that we're not projecting onto our partner the very thing that we're still trying to work through, that our partner is just triggering. And that is really important for developing a powerful partnership, is to be aware of what is my baggage that I have to work through, and what is the boundaries that I might need to set. Like, you can't say those things to me because it really invalidates me, or it causes me to feel really unseen.
Yeah, just knowing what the hot buttons are. And I think if there's anybody that knows the hot buttons, it's your spouse.
Yeah.
But we can use those for evil or good.
That's true. That's very true.
And I think we're all guilty of that. Sometimes intentional, sometimes unintentional. But I think what you've taught me a lot is the value of a dialogue. And sometimes I've been guilty of a monologue. And there's a reason why dialogue means two people talking. But being a good communicator, like we've talked about before, means you're a good listener as well. And I think having a dialogue means that there's a value to hear and have another person speaking.
That's so good, Jake. I'm hearing you speak. Really, really good.
Good.
But thinking as you're talking too, I was like, gosh, I think I'm probably the queen of comebacks. It's like, I always have a word to say on something, or I'm a very quick processor. So it's like, well, here's what I would refute to that. And so it pulls me out of listening. And what we have to learn as a couple, as anybody, to be a power couple, is really the importance of really listening and receiving one another, even if it doesn't make sense, even if we don't like it, even if it brings up shame or hurt or a sense of powerlessness. The worst thing that we can do is go into argument or defenses or accusations.
Right.
Well, those all come with arguing.
Right. Obviously, staying out of the four horsemen is a big one, which John Gottman coined the four horsemen of the apocalypse, which is, the reason he names it that, and it sounds very dramatic, but he says that just like that is the sign of the end of the world. It's the sign of the end of a marriage when the four horsemen, which are criticism, contempt, stonewalling, and what's the fourth one?
Defensiveness.
And obviously they're all related, right? If I'm critical, you're going to be defensive,
right?
If I'm stonewalling, then they all trigger each other.
It's true.
Which is why we have to monitor that says we're not going to allow the four horsemen to be in our relationship.
No, that's good, Jake. That's really, really good. Yeah, I think just the whole concept of being a power couple, we could go on and on about so many other points, but those are the three toppers I think that we've really identified is the importance of co-regulating when your partner's in distress. You've done so much
learning that skill. Yeah.
You've done so much growth in that just too. I'm really appreciative of that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. It's been a big learning curve.
Yeah. And being able to soothe me when I'm in distress or just unhappy, and that has not always been comfortable if I'm unhappy. And so
trying not to take it personal.
Or not take it personal, like you did something wrong or offended or whatever. And then the second point too is having that shared world is so important. We call it the purple kingdom. It's how the pink and the blue come together and have a shared kingdom. Mm-hmm. And then finally, dialoguing versus arguing. How to be able to dialogue versus argue and be able to really listen and not just listen to the words, but listen to the heart of your partner and be able to be open-minded and open-hearted.
Yeah. And that's all about bringing each of your crowns together to really live the two crown life and be that power couple. Mm-hmm. So one of our new things is giving you a crown jewel for your crown. So why don't you give that to him?
Oh my gosh. Okay. The crown jewel is, I would say that true power is a power with and not a power over.
That is the essence of two crowns.
Yeah. Your arguments, fights, conflicts, they're all about a power with. When your partner is in distress, you can choose to co-regulate and do a power with, or you can choose to kick them when they're down, shame them more, yell louder, disqualify, discount them, right? That's a power over. So somebody's always under or over. And then, of course, on shared activities, you can choose to have a power over that there's only so much time and resources.
Right.
And so you take all the time and energy and resources for your personal activity instead of really investing and making sure that there's shared activities or enough resources for both of you to have activities and time. And I don't just mean financial resources. I'm not talking, the big thing is time and emotional resources, right? Being making sure that there's shared in that too, that you both are having a mutual benefit from the relationship.
Exactly.
That's what makes a powerful couple.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us once again. And we hope that something today has been helpful for you. And if it has, pass it along to somebody else that you think would benefit from it. And we just thank you for your support and for tuning in.
You got it. Miri.
Signing off.